Hello, good afternoon, everyone. My name is Marilyn. I'm the founder and CEO of Customized Training Solutions Private Limited, or CTS, and we are passionate about helping leaders and organizations who are continuous learners and action takers to transform and thrive in all aspects by co creating customized programs with our world class resources. We have served over 3,000 leaders from 30 countries in different industries, including Petronas, Sony, PruLife UK, Ayala Group, Chevron, Tencent, Jollibee Foods Corporation, and Shell, to name a few. And we have been interviewing a lot of leaders from around the globe, and one of the top problems they face is hiring and keeping the right talents engaged. So if you are a CHRO, CEO, CFO, or a leader who is concerned about losing your best talent, if you feel like losing your strong bench of star employees carries more than financial cost, and if you need to have or to keep high performing employees to ensure productivity and team dynamics, you are in the right place right now. So, today, our interview with Alicia is focused on why I left my job. And so, before I bring her in, I'd like to introduce her, especially for those who haven't, seen us or haven't engaged with us. So, Alicia is unique, having fulfilled an academic career, a corporate career, freelancer, and now an entrepreneur. Holding a PhD in chemistry, Alicia enjoyed a successful scientific corporate career in pharmaceutical industry. Later, as a senior partner to the chief executive officer in a Fortune 500 company, she successfully led more than 20 transformations while gaining intense training and coaching from McKinsey. Alicia excelled at setting strategy, change management, and operational excellence, and an internal certified coach as well in her organization. Today, Alicia is an accredited ICF ACC coach. She combines her expertise, experience, skills, and a lifetime of learning to coach and mentor global clientele to proactively and holistically manage their careers, supporting them to be more, lead more, and live more. So without so much further ado, I'd like to bring in Alicia. Hi, Alicia.
Hello, hello, Marilyn. Hello to our viewers. I'm based in Brussels. It's mid-morning here, and I guess it's afternoon where you are in Asia. It's such a pleasure to be here. I think this is our last interview before the masterclass.
Exactly, exactly.
Mm,
And I'm sorry if we came in a bit late. There was
mm.
like some interchange of timing here. But tomorrow will be our main event, which is our master class, right? So I'm super excited to that, and I'm definitely gonna miss this interview that we do on a weekly basis. Miss seeing you and learning from you, right?
It's
So
a mutual interest.
yes. And so why don't we jump in so that our audience will really like get the meaty part of this conversation? So to start with, my question would be, why would an employee leave their job?
Oh, there's so many reasons. If you are a LinkedIn fan, for example, you would notice that people say that you don't leave a job, you leave a toxic environment or
Oh,
a boss, incompetent boss, or so many things people say about other people and the environment. And that's it. When we are in a situation in the job place where you just can't take it anymore for whatever reason, there are essentially three things you can do. You can, first of all, decide to stay and live in the misery, as I call it,
mhm,
or you can decide to leave. And those are two obvious options. And then there's a third option where you decide to stay, but you stop blaming and you start taking responsibility for your own growth, for your own leadership and career growth. And that's where people like me, career coaches, come in. We support those people who might be loyal to the company, who
mhm,
are so important. They bring so much impact. But then at the same time, they are somehow not satisfied anymore and they are forced to leave. So if our listeners here today, the people responsible for HR, they can take into account how can I support these people, then
Mm-hmm.
that's so important. So I set a scene there before answering your question, literally, because
Yes.
the ones who leave, and we'll focus on the ones who leave, but there are other options, as
True.
I mentioned. So
Mm-hmm.
the ones who leave, they leave for several reasons. And some of those factors can be extrinsic to the person. So
Mm-hmm.
it can be due to the company environment, the toxic relationships that might be happening, whether it's above or below. There are reorganizations happening in companies. There are redundancy programs, cost cutting programs. So many things are happening, and people they tend to get panicked and they would leave.
Mm-hmm.
And then you have the intrinsic, which we can talk a bit more later on. But these, before the intrinsic, I wanted to say something else actually. It's about the family. Sometimes it's due to family, and you may have to move for a certain reason. You may have a member of your family that needs your personal care. You
Mm-hmm.
may need whatever reason. So it's not always the company and the situation in the company, but it's also the personal environment that could
Mm-hmm.
impact someone leaving their job.
Mm-hmm. Thank you for sharing that with us. And again, like what you've mentioned, even though a lot of the reasons for leaving might be from different factors, like what you've said, both extrinsic and intrinsic.
Mm-hmm.
But I would say like I also have my personal experience where I love what I'm doing. I love my job, and yet I have to leave because of my bad boss. Right. And it's not really a good experience. I mean, I was the top producer then. In fact, I was earning more than my boss then.
Mm-hmm.
I'm
Mm-hmm.
bringing in business. I'm getting a lot of positive feedback and clients. I'm bringing in a lot of clients for the company, and yet I left the company even though I love what I'm doing. It's because of that one factor of whether should I stay or should I not with this regular experience I'm having. So I'm
Yeah.
glad. In fact,
Yeah.
I shared that as well in my earlier interview before this. Why I'm doing
Indeed.
my business, because of course leaders has to be more aware of that, and must address that as well if they really wanted to. I mean, from our context of conversation for the last 4 weeks, it's mainly about being able to retain our employees, right?
Indeed. And before you can retain, you need to engage. And
Mm-hmm.
that engagement, we've spoken a
Yes.
lot about it, and that's going to
Mm-hmm.
be one of the highlights tomorrow at the masterclass.
Mm-hmm.
But indeed, what you're saying, we spoke about this last week, I believe.
Mm-hmm.
Many employees, they are your star employees, like you,
Mm-hmm.
Marilyn. You were creating value for the company,
Mm-hmm.
creating more value than your salary. And these are the star employees, as I like to call them. Every
Mm-hmm.
employee is special, of course, but these are
Exactly.
the star ones that really stand out and they really create and bring in value beyond monetary, immediate monetary value for the company. And these are your employees that you want to retain on your strong bench.
Mm-hmm.
And we have an add on strategy that we're going to present to you tomorrow
Mm-hmm.
to help you to do that.
Yes. And you made mention about different factors. And can you please expound more on what extrinsic value is in this conversation, perhaps?
Yeah, so the extrinsic factors, we spoke about extrinsic, so that's not about the person, it's about the environment. And it's as I said, there are factors within the company,
Mm-hmm.
and there are factors that are on the family level, might be community level, might be pandemic. Who
Mm-hmm.
knows? There are many things that you cannot control as such. And the one for family, a lot of people underestimate this
Mm-hmm.
because the value of our quality of lives today is becoming really important in many parts of the world. And we need to spend more time with our families. We all need that sense of belonging. If we
Mm-hmm.
go back to Maslow, it's not only belonging in the workplace, it's belonging with our family, with our community, and we all need that. So sometimes it's because someone fell ill and you
Mm-hmm.
have to take time off, you have to leave your job to be
Mm-hmm.
able to support that person. How can companies avoid the risk of losing their star employees by creating special conditions for
Mm-hmm.
those employees to be able to still work and still
Mm-hmm.
take care of their families? Some type of flexible working approach could work there. And then with the reorganization and the cost cutting, uh, I have been through several reorganizations also, and luckily I was never at risk. But I can see the panic in people, in my
Mm-hmm.
team members. I
Mm-hmm.
have done so much coaching and mentoring and
Mm-hmm.
nurturing of people who are just afraid of losing their jobs, and some of them will stick to the end because they are so loyal to the company
Mm-hmm.
and they love their jobs and they can see their jobs disappearing in front of them.
Mm-hmm.
And then you have some of them who would immediately jump boat into another organization because they need to pay the rent, they need to pay the mortgage, they need to
Mm-hmm.
support their families. So many things. There's never one reason why someone would leave their job. And that's what makes it harder for companies to keep their employees engaged because they cannot control everything.
Exactly. Thank you for sharing more details to us on what extrinsic factor is. And of course, family is one thing. I mean, that's given. We have to prioritize our family, right? And yet, like what I would like to highlight perhaps is like what's going on in I believe it's globally where, companies have to undergo reorganization. I've been hearing a lot of that, cost cutting, downsizing, and all those stuff. And there are other ways as well to keep people, right? Or to especially the high performing ones, right? So I am glad you've actually shared with us, like, what does it mean for company wise. And w- how about the intrinsic factor? You made mention that as well. Can you tell us more about what intrinsic factors are?
How much time do we have? So this one really goes deep and it's linked to several aspects of our personalities. The most obvious one that is highlighted is our ambition and our desire to grow. We all want to be more, do more, lead more, live more. That is
Exactly.
coming from a deep place, and that's part of the human condition, as we
Mm-hmm.
refer to it. We all have that strong wish and to aspire for more and achieve more. And when people feel stuck and there's no room for growth, and their achievements are the same every day in, day out, and there's no new challenge. There's no new mountain to climb.
Mm-hmm.
When that happens, then the self esteem starts to drop
Mm-hmm.
because we all need that sense of challenge and achievement, the classical comfort zone, where many people like to stay also, let's be fair. But the majority, especially in today's rapid growth environment, the majority of people really want to just do more. And that self esteem brings confidence. And that confidence, it creates that virtuous cycle that we spoke about.
Mm-hmm.
And when that happens, it's magic. However, when the employees feel stuck and there isn't much room for growth and development within the organization,
Mm-hmm.
then our values come into play. And as Tony Robbins would say, we have two key values that are always somewhere in the top five. And one of them is success and one of them is security.
Mm-hmm.
And at some point, our value for success, for the really ambitious ones, becomes stronger than our value for security.
Mm-hmm.
And then we will leave that organization to look for a greater ambition.
Mm-hmm.
So that's one aspect of the whole thing. The other part is, with more senior people like VPs and CEOs, they're looking for self actualization.
Mm-hmm.
And there it's about self fulfillment. We start talking about legacy.
Mm-hmm.
We start talking about leaving that legacy behind. And that's where they may not necessarily leave, but they start to get involved in voluntary activities. They start to get involved on being the board of NGOs. So all these factors, which takes us back all the way to the 50s with Maslow and Hertzberg, their principles around what keeps us motivated.
Mm-hmm.
They were doing studies on motivation. What keeps us, motivated to continue doing more and wanting more in terms of our ambition and work.
Mm-hmm.
So there are many things behind that, but starting with ambition and innate desire is one main one, and the
Mm-hmm.
values is another one. You would hear people speaking about my values are misaligned. I
Mm-hmm.
cannot work in that place anymore
True.
because we grow out of our values also. We also mature and we change values as we grow up, shall we say, within an organization.
Yes, yes. And probably in somebody like me, like who've actually worked with different companies, I guess it's that ambitious and entrepreneurial mind that I have. So it's more an intrinsic factor. Like when I feel like, oh, I'm not learning anything anymore from this organization, I have to move. I have to learn something else, right? Am I right that
Mm-hmm.
am I right to say that that's actually intrinsic factor?
It is. And that's why it's a core part of employee engagement.
Mm-hmm.
And that's where the dilemma comes in for companies.
Mm-hmm.
Because if you support the employee with, there's this counterintuitive thinking that if you support the employee
Mm-hmm.
with career coaching, for example,
Mm-hmm.
then they will have everything in their toolkit to leave
Mm-hmm.
the company and go find a job somewhere else. But
Right.
if you support them with career coaching where they can really master and know themselves through
Mm-hmm.
their profile, through their values, through their skills,
Mm-hmm.
through their strengths, and how that applies to the job. If you can help them, I like to call it career identity. If
Mm-hmm.
you can help them to find that career identity,
Mm-hmm.
then they themselves would be able to talk to their managers to see opportunities within the company where they can contribute. And opportunities are not necessarily promotions.
Mm-hmm.
Still, we have a lot of leaders who believe that if I want to take on a bigger project, that
Mm-hmm.
means I want to get promoted. No, people want to be challenged. And that's why we have the lattice model
Mm-hmm.
versus the ladder model,
Right.
where you can move around, you can be involved in different projects. And of course, you would expect a salary increase and so on. But
Mm-hmm.
that's what we are finding in all the surveys done by Gallup and others is
Mm-hmm.
that that's not the primary reason people want to
Right.
get involved. They
Mm-hmm.
want to get involved because of that innate desire, that innate drive to really contribute more to the
Yes.
cause of their company. And
Mm-hmm.
that's why the company you choose to work for is so important.
Mm-hmm.
Because if your values are not aligned with the values of that company,
Mm-hmm.
or if the cause of that company, the mission, is somehow not resonating with you,
Mm-hmm.
then at some point the relationship will break.
Mm-hmm.
And the higher you are, the faster that will happen.
Right, right. Thank you for sharing with us. And you made mention earlier about Maslow and Herzberg. Um, can you tell us more about that, on how it's actually interrelated, or how that actually relates to why employees leave their jobs, right?
Yeah, so Maslow, I think everyone knows the classical pyramid. We start with the physiological, we all need to eat. Then we start with, then the next step is about the shelter and protection, the
Mhm,
security, and then the love and community. And
mhm,
that's why marketers, especially Facebook, thrives because they create this community where people have a sense of belonging.
mhm,
And if you can have those three, especially the third one in your company where your employees feel that this is a place I belong to, and I'm not just coming in, whether it's online or live in person, I'm not just coming in, doing my stuff, and going home.
mhm.
This is part of me, this is part of my community. And we tend to underestimate that within companies. And that's why people used to bring in cakes and have breakfast together and create that nice community that we don't have the privilege of these days. And the next step is the self esteem, and that's with achievements. And further up, of course, is the self actualization, which is the legacy we just spoke about.
Mhm, mhm,
So, with this self achievement, that's where Maslow and Herzberg disagreed in a sense,
mhm,
because Herzberg believed that that satisfaction point between community and self esteem, or between self esteem and self actualization,
mhm,
is where, and we see it, is where people are satisfied.
mhm,
They go to work, they don't really have that innate desire, and you can give them more money. A lot of people refuse promotions because they're happy there.
mhm,
That's their satisfaction point. And then you have the ones that just need to go further and further. So the main difference is that Maslow was more linear, people need to go up, and
mhm,
Hertzberg, based on his research, is that people would, they would hover around there in that third and fourth level without necessarily having that strong desire to gain greater satisfaction.
mhm.
So it's a complicated theory. They argued for quite a while. I think in the end they came to some conclusion. The book that discusses it really well is called Leadership and Motivation,
Mhm.
and that's it's a classic actually.
That's good. At least, if they can balance both, I guess that will be ideal. I mean,
Yeah.
I think it's all about having that balance as well. And, like what you've said, being able to help your team to be able to grow as part of the, engaging your employees or retaining your employees for that matter, right?
Mhm.
Yeah. So thank you for sharing that with us. And that's basically the end of our questions, unless you have any other messages that you'd like to add in, or share with our audience today, in terms of why people or their team members, especially high performing teams, do leave their job.
Yeah. So to add on to that, I think a lot of companies they measure their KPIs on
Mm-hmm.
retention,
Mhm.
after the fact. So how can they find, and those are called lagging KPIs,
Mhm.
and how can they find more leading KPIs to measure the status of their star employees?
Mhm.
It doesn't have to be every 6 months or even every year, but on a regular basis to have
Mhm.
those meetings with HR, with the team, to support the employee. Okay, we don't have many opportunities for you, but what do you see? Which projects you believe you could contribute to and grow?
Mhm.
And having that conversation is already a strong point of engagement, because then the management will be showing interest
Mhm.
in the employee, because a lot of people put up their hands, and I know this for sure, and
Mhm.
then they are shunned away. Oh, there's no room for promotion. We're going to have to wait until the end of the year again. uh, but it's not always about salary, and it's not only about title. Although some people, of course, we're human, some people that's super important for them.
Mhm. Mhm.
So it's about engagement beyond the classical off the shelf products that I like to call them. There's a lot of digital interaction, there's a lot of digital engagement. But going back to that human to human conversation, and also helping the employees to understand where they are and their potential. And this is what we're going to talk about tomorrow. We're going to
Mhm.
talk about really focusing on the person and helping the person, especially your star employees, to find out more about themselves and how they can really use what they have to contribute to the growth of the company, but also to contribute for their own growth and visibility in their network. And this is so powerful. I've tried it with several clients of mine, almost more than 25. And this formula that we are going to present tomorrow, it's
Mhm.
simple, but it's super effective.
Thank you so much. And I'm super excited as well for tomorrow. I know that we're going to add more value to our audience again. And oh, I missed to put something in my summary. But just for the purpose, since we're still here, maybe I can just share this with them. This is where you've actually like my summary in terms of what you've shared with Maslow and Herzberg. And of course, um, again, we look forward to be adding value to our audience tomorrow in terms on the, again, like what you've said, add on strategies which will support employees to rediscover themselves, as well as, for employers, leaders, or, part of the organization, especially those who get involved with, people, and retaining their team. They would definitely, learn so much and get a lot from our masterclass tomorrow. So, for those who haven't really, signed up, we have quite a number of sign-ups already. I think we're almost reaching 50 people.
Wow.
So, for those who haven't signed up, feel free to sign up. You have until today to do so.
You're putting the stress on, Marilyn.
So I will just flash it, although you've been seeing that scrolling since we started our interview, but I'll just flash it again in a bigger way so that you would know where to sign up for our upcoming program. I mean, our program tomorrow on the masterclass on how you can actually support your employees to ensure retention of your star employees, especially, right? So looking forward to seeing everyone who would sign up for this program and adding value to you through Alicia. And if if there's anything more, Alicia, before we say bye to them.
No, I'm super excited. 50 people for such a masterclass, especially the audience we're aiming for,
Mm-hmm.
is tremendous. And it will be my pleasure. It's not going to be a top down. I'll try to keep it as interactive as possible because I really want to hear the views of others also, as
Mm-hmm.
far as we can within the time we have.
Mm-hmm.
And of course, we would have an offer for you, but really, it's beyond the offer. The value is going to be tremendous.
Definitely. And I totally agree with you on that. And thank you so much for this very, I mean, from the past interviews we had, it's been really insightful, it's been really helpful and useful. And I believe this already is adding value to them. Just this 30 minutes interview that we've been doing on every Tuesday, what more they can get if they attend a masterclass or even engage us for full programs. And again, from our first day, we've already established that losing especially high performing members is actually more than the money that it can cost you, right? It's more than that. So I mean, if they really wanted to have a great culture, a great uh, organization that they will call in, where people belong, where people would enjoy to work and stay, then they have to learn from you.
After all, people are our greatest assets.
Exactly. And that's the reason why we've been doing customized training solutions, because we believe that people is the greatest asset to have that business success as well. So thank you very much, Alicia, for this insightful
Thank you.
conversation again, and for for teaching us a lot of stuff again on employee engagement and retention. And we look forward to adding value again tomorrow. And thank you everyone for watching, and do join us tomorrow. And yeah, with that, we again would like to leave you with this quote from Dolly Parton: "If your actions create legacy that inspires others to dream more, learn more, do more, and become more, then you are an excellent leader." See you guys tomorrow.
Bye,
Bye.
everyone. Thank you, Marilyn. Bye.
You're welcome.